on a daily basis, okay? So at least 5 times a day, your ascension should take place. Meaning you should reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That the miraj go to the heavens. But our miraj is in our sajda. Okay? And really the sajda classifies ibadah to us. Why? Because worship is all about humility, but with lowering yourself. Okay? There is a sense of humility, but then you also have an aspect of good pride, where you know I'm Muslim as well. But when you're worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's humility with totally lowering yourself, that you feel you're the worst of the worst. Okay? And you lower yourself in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The reason you feel not in front of people, the lowest of the low, but in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but He's the creator, isn't He? He's the creator, and in front of Him, you're like nothing. So how do we honor Him in that state? We put the highest limb on our body, that's your forehead, or something that we honor the most. That we say, raise your head high. Why are you always having your head up? Yes, you should lower it sometimes. You know, there's some statements that we make in the English language. They're all statements of pride, aren't they? So we take pride in our forehead, in our head, okay? Our head being held high. So what we do in terms of worship is we lower it in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Signifies that in front of Him we are nothing. To our Lord, that's what actual worship is. Where we have so much humility that in front of Him we are worthless. Not in front of people, but in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? So that's just the essence of worship, and some basic tasawwuf for you in terms of worship. There are many ahadiths, many verses of the Qur'an which mention salah in them. Okay? And the importance of it is really such that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in various verses commanded us to establish our prayer. Aqimu salah, aqimu salah, aqimu salah. Okay? Establish your prayer, establish your prayer, establish your prayer. The fardiyat is known. But what makes salah fard upon us? Okay, what are the conditions for it? And it's good to know these. Okay? For example, a person needs to be Muslim for salah to be fard upon him. The first condition is that he has to be Muslim. Second condition is maturity. To reach the age of puberty, to be mature. Does anybody know the age? 7, yes. Okay, till 15. 7 till 15. By default, if a child has not matured, boy or girl has not matured by the age of 15, according to us, by default is mature now. He or she, if no signs of maturity, then by the age of 15, by default, if no signs appear, boy or girl, they are mature now. We'll treat them like adults. Okay. In Islam, we don't have this teenage business. Okay, you know, you go from childhood to teenage. We don't have the teenager part. It is from child to adult in terms of their rights. So it goes from child, they reach 7, 8, whenever they mature. As soon as they mature, they have the right of adults. So, for example, if they were to inherit something, and they have inherited it, but they weren't allowed to spend it because they won't mature. As soon as they mature, they have full right over their inheritance, and they can do whatever they like with it. Okay. So similar with salah, if they mature, then salah will be fard upon them. Aql, intellect, sound mind in the word. This is also a condition for salah to become fard upon you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's commands do not turn towards people who are insane, insane, or are going through such a mental illness where the mind is no longer sound. So you have mental illnesses, and even such that we call him a ma'tu. A ma'tu is that person, sometimes he's okay, speak well to you, you know everything, but then at times he's totally not with it. Okay, so he's in and out of that state. While he's in the state or where he's understanding everything, then we say he should pray. But when he's out of that state, then there's no prayer upon him. Okay. Similar thing with this is the person who's unconscious. He's not in sound mind, is he? He's totally out of it, in a coma. Then what will happen here? Prayer will not be fard upon him. Okay. You have to be in a state where the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can be understood, okay, by you. So these are the three conditions for salah, for salah to be fard upon a person: Muslim, mature, and intellect, sound intellect. Okay. Three things that make salah fard upon you. There are also causes for salah to be fard. Okay. One of the cause of salah is, and that's a condition, is the time. Okay. You have to have the time for a particular prayer to be fard. I mentioned it 5 times. We have 5 daily prayers, don't we? We start from Fajr, then Zohar, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha. I would have wrong on the board, but there's no boarding on that side. Okay. So we have Fajr first. Okay. Fajr starts from true dawn. True dawn. Anybody witness the skies here? Stargazing, night gazing, sky gazing. No? Okay, you should come out with it sometime. If you ever go out in the night, on a normal night, okay, you'll find that it'll be pitch black. Okay. And then you'll see a light. They're not UFOs. You see a light, but these lights will actually stretch out towards you. They come in this way towards you. And this is not dawn. This is not true dawn. Give it a couple of minutes to disappear. And since we're living in Britain and everything here is not reliable, okay, normally it happens once. If you come to Pakistan, India, in other countries, you see it happen once and then it disappears. Yeah? And then after that, the light that comes is true dawn. With UK, it comes and goes. Okay, so you're always in a situation where you're guessing. Okay, where as Fajr started, as Fajr started. So you say Fajr started, and then it disappears. It's pitch black. So these lights come. They come towards you. They're like rays of lights coming towards you. This is known as false dawn. Okay, or the false morning. This disappears, and in the UK, by my sightings, it comes and goes. I've counted it to come and go more than 15 times in the month of Ramadan. It came and went, and many ulama with us came and went more than 15 times. Okay, which was very, very confusing. But then once that has disappeared, you'll see a light this time not coming towards you but spreading along the horizon. And it starts off somewhat as a box. To an untrained eye, you won't be able to realize it. You just look spread out. But if you're trained, if you actually go out and look, you'll see that from where the sun is going to rise, you'll see a box of light. Okay, or like a semicircle rather. Okay, and that is true dawn. This spreads along the horizon now. Okay, this is when Fajr starts, and this is when your fast begins. Okay, hence the different calendars in Ramadan. Okay. This is true dawn. This is when Fajr starts. Okay. To make life easy for you, we've made calendars. Okay. The calendars are always, we have precautionary time about 8 minutes. Not many of you know that, but we have a precautionary time of 8 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes. Now, what is with that is that when if you want to pray, okay, then what will happen is if you, for example, you're finishing off, you need to finish Isha, okay, then always try to pray about 10 to 15 minutes before the end time. That's for every single prayer that you have, okay, if you want it to be in time. Okay? So you do it that way so that your prayer is always in. This is a side note. So that's the starting of Fajr, okay, that are true dawn, and that true dawn is when the light spreads along the horizon, not coming towards, the rays of light are not coming towards you. Okay, if you see anything above, if any sort of light is above your head, okay, then that won't be true dawn. True dawn spreads along the horizon. Fajr starts from there and it ends at sunrise. Okay. Once the sun rises, that's it, Fajr has ended. No more Fajr after this. Prayer is Zuhr. Zuhr prayer starts from just after noon. That makes sense?
You know, on the calendar it says the sunrise time. But still, I do want that time say it's 10 something. How long before that you have to public prayer?
No, you're not understanding something, okay? That time that we're giving you there, okay, in our calendar, is the time of sunrise. Okay? So you can pray up to that. Up to that. Okay? And then after that, about half an hour would be the haram time. Yes. The sunrise itself. Okay? It's haram to pray in that time.
And what is on the calendar sometimes it says Subh Sadiq.
That's Subh Sadiq, that's the starting of Fajr. Okay. That's the starting of Fajr. The true dawn. Subha means dawn or morning. Sadiq means true. Okay. Zohar just starts afternoon. What is noon? Noon is when the sun is on its highest point, isn't it? Okay. Highest in the sky. As soon as the sun moves from the highest point, that's when Zohar starts. That's when Zohar starts at this point. So that is just afternoon, isn't it? So noon is actually the highest point of the sun. As soon as the sun moves from noon, like a degree or so, then that is known as afternoon. Okay. That's when Zohar starts. It ends on 2 shadow lengths. I'll just give you one opinion on that. 2 shadow lengths. Okay. What I mean by 2 shadow lengths is that if you were to have a stick and measure its shadow at noon. So at noon, the thing would have the smallest shadow, wouldn't it? Sun is directly on top of it. Then the smallest shadow will be on the ground. We call that the actual shadow. That's the actual shadow of the thing at noon. Okay. So whatever measure of that is, the actual shadow when it is smallest. If you have 2 lengths of that, okay, so for example, this is 10 centimeters, then it goes now up to 30 centimeters. Okay, so that's 2 likings, isn't it? 2 likings of the actual, that's when Asr will start. Okay, that's when Asr will start. Simple, isn't it? And 2 shadow lengths, excluding the actual shadow. So you have the actual shadow, if that's 10 centimeters, then you need to add another 20 centimeters to have 2 likings, don't you? So when you have 2 of them, okay, when you reach that size, then Asr now starts. Okay. Again, we made life easy. We've got timetables. Okay. You can just use them, inshallah. So that's when it starts. When does Zohar ends at 2 shadow lengths, Asr begins at 2 shadow lengths. Okay. So as soon as Zohar ends, Asr starts from that time. Now Asr carries on till sunset.
Sorry, what did you say
Zohr starts just after noon. So when the sun is on its highest, okay, and then it moves off its highest point, that's when Zohr starts. So for example, we talked about the shadow. As soon as the shadow starts from the sun being on top, as soon as the shadow starts to lengthen slightly, you can say Zohr has started. Okay, and it lasts till 2 shadow lengths. 2 shadow lengths, excluding the actual shadow. And this, what I just told you about 2 shadow lengths, is also the start of Asr. The next prayer will come in by that then. So as soon as Zohr finishes at 2 shadow lengths, by those 2 shadow lengths, Asr comes in. Okay. Now when Asr comes in, Asr will last until sun set. Okay. Asr will last till sunset. Till the sun goes down. But I'll tell you here that there's some true time, isn't there? Within Asr, a disliked time to pray. If you've delayed if prayer happens to have been delayed because we have excuse, then you can still pray in, but you just dislike to pray within that time. That's when there's a discoloration of the skies. Yes, close to sunset, the sky turns red. Okay, at that point to pray your prayer, okay, or intentionally delay it to that time is makruh. Okay, and makruh tahrimi to delay it to that time. If it happens for other reasons where you couldn't pray, then it's just makruh for you to read it. Okay, that's the makruh time in it, disliked time. So sunset.
How can you tell it if the sky is not red, so it doesn't become red?
If the sky is not red, you're fine. Okay.
Because it doesn't happen all year round. The sky doesn't always be red.
It does.
Does it?
It's not on top of your head, but on the horizon it will.
On the
be.
horizon.
Yes. On the horizon it will be when the sun is setting. Okay. Over there you'll see that it will be red. Okay.
So approximately how long is that time before sunset?
Roughly 20 minutes.
So about
20 minutes before sunset.
That's slow.
Yes.
Okay.
Roughly 20 minutes before sunset. Okay. We'll do the makruh times separately as well. Then, as soon as the sun sets, you got the time of Maghrib. Time of Maghrib. Maghrib lasts, you got 2 mazhabs, I'll tell you both of them. Lasts until the redness disappears or until the whiteness disappears. When the sun sets, okay, after the sun has set, it leaves the redness in the sky. Okay. The Hanafi opinion and the Sahiban's opinion, many ulama give fatwa on this, and we do in the sunnah as well, that we follow this opinion in the sunnah, is that when the redness disappears, okay, that's when Isha has come in. Maghrib has ended and Isha has come in. Imam Abu Hanifa said that it's not the redness, after the redness there's a whiteness in the sky. Okay. If you observe the sky, you'll know that a redness comes, and then on the western horizon, okay, you'll see a whiteness in the sky as well. Okay. Now what will happen is, Imam Abu Hanifa says that whiteness needs to disappear for Isha to come in. Okay. So in the case of the redness, you have a shorter time for Maghrib, don't you? And in terms of the whiteness disappearing, then you have a longer time for Maghrib. Okay. But regardless, they're both Hanafi opinions. Okay. And the ulama slightly differing what they give fatwa on. Hence, sometimes you might have a difference of the Isha timing. Okay, some countries might have a different timing. But I would say to you, from my research, I've known that majority of the past ulama agreed with the redness disappearing. The redness disappearing. So Imam Ahmad Reza Khan gave the fatwa that in India, he said we follow the whiteness disappearing. Okay, so he followed that. But from my research, okay, like Imam Qazi Khan, scholars, okay, they give fatwa on the redness. That when the redness disappears, Isha comes in. So when Isha comes in, you've got Isha. Okay, let's say after the redness disappears, Maghrib ended, Isha has now come in.
So when Maghrib comes in, obviously you should try and pray.
Yes.
How long in terms of time do you have?
Till that redness disappears. So from summer to winter it changes. Yes. At times it can be an hour 15. Okay. Sometimes even an hour and a half. Okay. And in the winter it can come down as 45 minutes. So you have to pray more. Okay.
In the tariqah, for us, is it the redness that we, the rule of the redness discipline?
I follow redness.
The redness, yeah.
So once Isha comes in, Isha will now last all the way till true dawn. Fajr time. Okay. Will last all the way till true dawn. So now we've got 5 daily prayers. I'll tell you here, if you have a prayer which has a prayer straight after it. So you go from one time into another time. If you're late in reading your prayer, if you are late reading your prayer, so you started your Zohr prayer in the last minute of Zohr time and finished it in the first minute of Asr time. Now your prayer is done. You don't have to repeat it. Okay? Which prayer does that leave out? So you can do that from Zohr to Asr, from Asr to Maghrib, from Maghrib to Isha, from Isha to Fajr. What's the odd one now? Fajr is the end time of Fajr, does not go into any other prayer time, does it? Meaning from sunrise till noon. Okay? It's just a time where no prayer has been prescribed upon us in terms of Fard prayer. We read nothing in that time, but there's no prayer there. So what happens here is when you come into, if you're late for Fajr and the sun rises, okay, your prayer will break. Okay? That's particular to us Hanafis. Okay? So remember that masala, that if you're reading Fajr and then the sun rises, what will happen? Your prayer will break. After the sun has risen, after 20 minutes and you're into a normal time, then you have to repeat your Fajr prayer. Okay? But whereas for every other prayer, if you started at the end of the prayer time and you carry on into the next prayer time, your prayer is done. And you can just carry on. Okay? So these were the prayer times. Okay. These were the prayer times. Look at the makruh times, the dislike times. Okay. You got the rising of the sunrise. Okay. And like I said, to roughly 20 minutes. Okay. These are really haram times. Okay. Then you have setting of the sun. Okay. When the sun is setting, another haram time. Then you have noon, when the sun is at noon, isn't it? Okay. That is also haram time. You have 3 times which are makruh. Okay. To read nafal in them, and the makruh tahrimi. Okay.
So these first 3 that you've given, these are haram, full stop.
Sorry, the haram, and to read in them is like to prostrate or anything in them as well is haram. Sorry.
Can you just say the 3 again?
Sunrise,
Yep.
noon, and sunset. The makruh times, these are haram times. The makruh times are for example, after praying Fajr, but you might have time left in Fajr time. So you prayed Fajr. To read anything from your Fajr fard until sunrise is makruh. So you've prayed your prayer. So let's say there was half an hour left for the end of Fajr prayer time. Okay, so you prayed your fard. Now there's half an hour left. For you to read nafal after it is makruh. Does that make sense? You know that time in between? You pray the fard, to read after it is makruh. Similar with Asr prayer. Asr prayer. Remember I told you one makruh time is, or the dislike time is when the sun has a discoloration. Okay, the skies have changed the colors. That's a makruh time also. But another makruh time is that if you've prayed your Asr prayer, is makruh to read nafal after it. So let's say you prayed your Asr prayer in the beginning time. As soon as you came in, you prayed it. Now to read any type of nafil will be makruh.
Can you still read Qaza in
Yes,
that
you can.
time?
Yes, you can. You can do qaza in that time.
Qaza also,
Even in Fajr. Yeah. Any makruh time you can do qaza in. So do you understand those makruh time? One of the conditions, we're talking about conditions for salah, is having an intention. Intention is a condition. Okay, but intention here, what we refer to is the intention of the heart. You know what you're doing. So you know that I'm reading too far, whatever it is. Okay, so that intention needs to be known. You don't just come into prayer, you don't know what you're doing. Okay, so intention of the heart, not verbal, but of the heart. You know what you're doing. Cleanliness is a condition. Meaning wudu, you have to be in a state of purity to pray your prayer. Right, look at the farz. There were conditions. Look at the farz. The farz of prayer are the takbir tahrima. That's the first takbir. And we just talk about normal prayer here. Takbir tahrima is when you say Allahu Akbar for the first time. That is fard. The opening takbir, Allahu Akbar, that is fard. The next thing that's fard is your qiyam, standing. That is fard. That's number 2. Number 3 is reciting one verse of the Qur'an. That's fard. In the qiyam. So in the qiyam, reciting one verse of the Qur'an. That is fard.
at least.
Then that's the minimum, that's fard. Everything else above that will be something else. We'll come to that inshallah. Then you have ruku. Okay. Ruku. That's the bowing position. That's fard. The sujood, the prostrations that we have, all prostrations are fard. Okay. So you have the prostration. How much is that? 5, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then we have the qa'da akhira, the last sitting of every single prayer. The last sitting of every single prayer. If you're in 2 rakat, 2 units, and then at the end of 2 you sit down, don't you? That's fard. If you're reading 4, then at the end of the 4th rakat you sit down, that is fard. Okay, that's obligatory then. There's a limit to it. The amount of time it takes you to read the tashahhud. Yes.
That's
So,
how long you should sit
yeah,
for.
that's how long you should sit for. Okay. So that'll be wajib. That'll come later on. It'll be wajib. Okay. We'll mention that again. So just the last sitting is fard. Last sitting of every prayer is fard. It's obligatory. How much is that? 6.
6.
The 7th one as well. Okay. According to Imam Abu Hanifa, that's al-khuruj bi sun'ihi. Coming out of prayer with intent, with your own action, with intention.
Al-Khuruj.
Bi sun'ihi just means to come out with your own action. With your own action, we mean with intent. You have an intention to come out of prayer now. Okay. What do we have in this place? Normal day. Salam, isn't it?
Salam.
Yes, we give salam. By the way, we intend to come out of prayer with it. The salam itself is not fard, but the action that you do to come out, that is fard. Okay. So for example, according to Imam Abu Hanifa, is that if you were sat and you read all your tahiyat, finished the prayer, you just need to come out of prayer, and you started to laugh loudly. Okay? Your prayer is complete. You had the intention of coming out of prayer, and what you did was to come out of prayer, you started to laugh. Extreme case, you started to laugh. Okay? You'll finish your prayer, break your wuzu, and you're fine. Your prayer is done. You'll break your wuzu though. Okay? But your prayer is complete.
And this is at the point of after at-tashahhud.
After the tashahhud, yes. Once you've done your wajibat, which you're going to go through, inshallah, and once you've done everything and you laugh loudly, or as simple as you just got up and walked away with intent, I'll finish prayer now, and you just walk. And instead of doing salam, he just got up and walked off. When out the masjid, turned his chest away from Qibla, his prayer is complete. All it is, salam is a nice etiquette of coming out of prayer. Okay. So these are the 7 fard. Okay, 7 fard. They're not outlined in books, just outline them all together for you. Okay. The 7 fards that you have within the salah itself. Right, let's look at the wajibat. The wajib are the necessary actions. Okay, so the fard were the obligations. That's something you have to do. Okay, the wajibs are similar to fard, meaning in the importance they are similar to fard, but in terms of how we prove them, they're slightly less. Okay, the evidence is slightly less. Okay, so that's why we just make a difference in translation as well. Obligation for fard and necessity for wajib. Wajib, for example, the wajib actions in salah, reciting Surah Fatiha. Every single letter and word of Surah Fatiha is wajib. The whole of Surah Fatiha is wajib. So look, you say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. By that, you've also done the fard. Remember we said one verse is fard of the Quran in Qiyam. When you said Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, that fard is complete. But for you to read down to Walad Daleen is wajib. To read all of it is wajib. Okay. So this is wajib. Another wajib in the Qiyam is the recitation of a surah or minimum 3 verses. So you either read a whole surah or you read minimum 3 verses. Or one verse which is equal to 3. So you take the shortest surah, which is Inna Atena Kawthar, isn't it? Okay. And if you take Ayatul Kursi, it's longer than the surah, isn't it? Yes, Surah Kawthar. It's only 3 verses, and it's very short. Inna Atena Kawthar, all the way to the end of it. Now it's only 3 verses, and Ayatul Kursi in every aspect is longer than Surah Kawthar. Okay. So Surah Kawthar is really equivalent. Ayatul Kursi is equivalent to Surah Kawthar. So hence we can say that you either read a whole surah, okay, or you read 3 verses minimum, or read 1 verse which is equal to 3. 1 verse which is equal to 3. There are many other verses in the Quran which are longer than Inna Atena Kawthar. So the benchmark will be Inna Atena Kawthar of that, and if you know that there's another verse which is completely longer than it, like Ayatul Kursi, okay, it's far longer than Surah Kawthar. Now, to read Ayatul Kursi straight after Surah Fatiha is permitted, because it's equivalent to 3 verses of the Quran, okay, meaning the shortest surah of the Quran. So that is wajib, okay, to do. I'll mention here that in the fard prayer, if you're reading any fard prayer which is more than 2 rakats, so 3 or 4 rakats, okay, we'll do the units in a minute. In the fard namaz, it's not wajib to read Surah Fatiha in the last 2 rakats. Okay, so in the 3rd rakat or the 4th rakat, okay, it's not wajib to recite Surah Fatiha or a surah in the third or fourth rakat of a fard prayer. Of an obligatory prayer, to recite Surah Fatiha in the third or the fourth rakat is not wajib, is mustahab. Meaning, if you want to recite Surah Fatiha, you get rewarded inshallah. And if you want to say Subhanallah, 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 and then going to ruku, that is permitted. And if you just want to stand there, that is also permitted. You stand silent.
Is that for the Imam and the followers? Or
If you're with the Imam, then you don't recite at all. Okay, then Imam does everything for you. Okay, other than just in Qiyam. Okay, in every other place you recite behind the Imam. Okay? Just in Qiyam you don't recite. It's makruh tahdimi to recite behind the Imam in Qiyam. That's for sisters as well. You know, when you're standing behind the Imam in the Qiyam position, you do not have to say anything. You'll just do your sunnahs. For example, if it's the starting of salah, then you do Allahu Akbar and then you recite sunnah. Okay, and that's about it. Then you give the rest to him. Okay, in all the prayers. And then in ruku, sujood, and everything else, okay, you'll recite just in Qiyam the Quran. You will not recite the Quran behind the Imam. Well, I'm talking about if you read your prayer by yourself. Okay, if you read your prayer by yourself, front prayer, then the last two rakats, Surah Fatiha is not wajib. Okay, it is a sunnah to read, rather mustahab to read. And if you don't want to read it, you can read Subhanallah or do glorification another way, or just remain silent and wait for a little while and then go into ruku. Okay? You probably notice sometimes Imams in the last rakat, they just stand up, 2 seconds later they back down again. Okay? The reason is he decided not to read Surah Fatiha in that part of the salah. Same thing with the surah. So if you are going to recite Surah Fatiha in the third and fourth rakat, we really don't even have a surah for it. Yeah? You know, normally in the first two rakats, okay, you recite Surah Fatiha, then you recite a surah, don't you? In Fard Namaz. In the third and fourth rakat of the Fard prayer, obligatory prayer, you can recite Surah Fatiha, but you don't recite a surah after it. Okay?
Independently.
Independently, completely don't. Even independently.
Just Surah Fatiha.
Just Surah Fatiha.
Just to clarify, say for example you do two surahs. In the first rakat you can read the two surahs, and in the third you don't have to read Surah Fatiha.
It's mustahab to read it. It is mustahab to read Surah Fatiha. Okay, you don't have to. It is recommended. Okay. The point I'm making is that you don't have to read the next surah. That's not even recommended for you to do. Okay. Meaning at that point you will get rewarded for it if you do recite a surah. Okay. So you read surah. What's that? It is disliked. It is disliked to do that, to read the surah. Okay. But it won't affect your prayer as in terms of being said that salvation, it won't do anything. Okay.
Sorry, I don't understand. I don't get it.
Okay. Surah Fatiha in the third and fourth rakat of the obligatory prayer is mustahab, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Normally when we recite Surah Fatiha, we read a surah after it. In the third and fourth rakat of a fard prayer, we do not recite the surah. So you have a choice of reciting Surah Fatiha, but after Surah Fatiha, the surah or the 3 verses that you're going to read, in the third and fourth rakat, we completely do not recite them.
Don't read it.
Yes, at all. It's not even recommended for you to read the surah. Okay, after Surah Fatiha in the third and fourth rakat of the fard prayer. Okay?
You know if you accidentally start a surah and then
And then in terms, it is disliked to do.
that's all question.
No, not in this case. Okay? Remember this fatwa is on, according to us, we give the fatwa in Imam Abu Yusuf's mazhab, and that is that sadaqah will not be wajib in this case. Okay, lot of people confuse this.
And then you didn't read it in the fall because I read up to Amin and then sometimes forget and then you come or something.
In the third and fourth rakat.
Yeah.
Yes, you don't have to do
I don't
sadaqah.
have to do
No,
sadaqah. And then in the fourth one, should I read it again?
No.
Or-
No.
And just read it to Amin.
just read up to Amin and straight into your. That was that. Then the next wajib, we have lost where I was.
Third wajib we just did with the Surah Al-Fatiha.
Okay, Surah Fatiha. Yeah, I'll explain that. I'll go to the, for every other prayer. So we just explained the fard and ordinary regarding third and fourth rakah. For every other prayer, every rakat that you read, every unit that you read, you have to read Surah Fatiha and a surah after it. So if you're doing your sunnahs, you're doing your wajib, your witr, you're doing your nafil, okay, and whichever you got, to read Surah Fatiha and then read a surah or 3 verses after it, is both of them are wajib in every single rakat. So in other words, the fard are just slightly different.
So, do you know if you have done that? If you have done this, that's not.
Your prayer will still be done. It's completely. Yeah. Right, another thing that's wajib is itmi'nan, tranquility. Okay? Tranquility, but we have a definition for it. Okay? We call it ta'dilul arkan as well. Some said it's fard as well. Here, this author has put as wajib, but some Hanafis have placed it on the fard as well. Okay, ta'dilul arkan. Ta'dilul arkan is when you're moving from position to position. So if you go from qiyam to ruku, okay, ta'dilul arkan, and what we class as tranquility, is that your muscles relax in the next position. So when you move, your muscles tense, don't they, slightly? So when you come into the next position, then you stay in that position to a minimum time of that, at least your muscles relax. So where you are, they somewhat come into the natural position that they're meant to be in. They're somewhat loose. Okay?
That's for every action.
That's for every action. Okay? So it saves you from being like a chicken. And we call that the chicken effect. Okay? Especially in sajda, people just hit. Weak it out. Okay? So weak down and back up. Okay? We don't want that. So this is wajib. Okay? It's wajib. We don't have sajda sahw for it.
Sorry.
You don't have sajda sahw for this. Okay? We'll come to sajda sahw at the end. The next wajib is the first sitting. Yes. So let me get this right. If it's the only sitting of the prayer, then that's fard, isn't it? That's obligation. But if you have 2 sittings, the last sitting is an obligation. The first sitting is wajib, is a necessity. Okay. So it can only happen in a third rakat or a fourth rakat prayer. Cannot happen in a 2 rakat prayer, can it? So a 3 rakat prayer or 4th rakat prayer, the first sitting is wajib. Okay. So for example, you pray 2 units, you're reading 4 rakat, you're reading 4 units, you pray 2, at the end of 2 you sit down, don't you? This sitting is wajib. This sitting is wajib. And how much of it is wajib? To sit at least the time it takes you to read up to abduhu wa rasuluhu. Okay. The time it takes you to read abduhu wa rasuluhu. This is necessary. That leads on to the next wajib, isn't it? The reading of at-tahiyat itself, the tashahhud is wajib. So you got 2 wajibs here.
Sorry, say that again, please.
The first wajib was to sit the first sitting. Yes? But that can only occur in either a 3 rakat or a 4th rakat. First is determined by 2, isn't it? Second. First or the second, isn't it? Okay. So the first sitting is wajib, but how long is the sitting wajib for? The amount it takes you to read up to abduhu wa rasuluhu. That's the amount you need to sit. Which leads on to the second wajib, which is to read at-tahiyat itself. From at-tahiyat lillahi wa salawat all the way to abduhu wa rasuluhu. Okay. Before the salawat. Okay. That section there, the at-tahiyat, the tashahhud, what we call, okay, that is wajib. To read that is wajib. And to read it in every single sitting is wajib as well. Okay. Even in your obligatory one. In the last sitting of each prayer, to sit in that and read at-tahiyat is wajib in that. In other words, every time you sit into the sitting position, okay, in the shahud position, to recite the shahud up to abduhu wa rasuluhu is all necessary, it's wajib. That makes sense? To say the word as-salam is wajib. Not the alaykum. To say the word as-salam is wajib. But remember, this is the outside of prayer. It's not an insider of prayer. The word as-salam is the outsider. You're giving salam, aren't you? So it's an outsider, the way of coming out of prayer. So if you do miss it, it won't be said that's how. So these are some of the wajibat within the prayer. Okay. The sunnahs of prayer. The sunnahs of prayer are, for example, to raise the hands. We'll go through the sunnahs. Jamil, you want to come forward? We'll do the sunnahs as we go along with this, inshallah. Save us time. Right. So I'll go through the method as well, and then I'll point out the sunnahs as we go along as well. Okay. So what do we do first? What's the sunnah first? To do in salah. Before that? Intention. Okay. So we make an intention, don't we? Anybody know intention? Huh? Nobody know the intention?
The verbal intention
Verbal
is
intention,
sunnah, but the intention in the
I'm talking
heart.
about the sunnah. So he knows he's praying 2 rakats at the moment. Yes, he knows he's praying 2 rakats. So what intention is he going to make? Verbal intention I'm talking about. Did you do it when you were kids?
Standing for the praying for the sake of Allah.
Yes.
Naming the prayer, the amount of rakats,
Yes.
and then the fact that you're facing the Qibla.
Yes. That's recommended. Okay. We also recite verses of the Quran, don't we? You ever come across that? Inni wajjahtu wajhiya lilladhi fatara as-samawati wal ard. Okay, all the way to the end of it. Okay. We recite that verse, which has all the intention in it.
If you don't know that or do that,
It's sunnah to do. It's sunnah mustahab to do. So if you don't do it, you can just know in your heart that I'm reading such and such prayer. Allah.
what's that verse we're using?
Inni wajjahtu wajhiya lilladhi fatara as-samawati wal ard. Find it for you. You do that, then what do? You made the intention. Don't go off and do something after making the intention. Okay? It's like you made the intention and you go off and do something and then just come back. Allahu Akbar. Don't do that. As soon as you made the intention, the next thing should be the raf'ul yadayn, the takbir tahlima we call it. Okay. So men raise their hands up to there in 2 methods: touch your ears or up to your ears. Okay. Raise your hands. Right. Face them out. Like this. Like this. Yeah. So you're facing Qibla, so your hands should be facing Qibla as well. Okay. For all of us, we look forward. You don't look down. So you don't break your head down. You look forward. So when you're going to do it, it's straight up and Allahu Akbar like this. So you can put your ears, or you can keep it up to you. This for men, up to your ears. But for ladies, well, you look forward, straight forward towards Qibla, and then you say Allahu Akbar at this state. Okay. Then you look forward. Okay. Then after that, you can look down. Okay? At the time of takbir, you need to look forward. You don't break your head. This like to look down. Then you can look down. Then you fasten your hands, don't you? Okay. So the way for let me come back, rewind a bit. For women, okay, women will do raise their hands up to their chest, okay, up to their chest. One other thing I should mention as well, if you tend to have, men as well, if you tend to have shawls on, okay, and you cover yourself, then what you need to do is, or you got long sleeves, so if you got sleeves or your arms are all covered, okay, then what you need to do is you need to take your hands out, literally take them out, and if you got your shawl on, then you need to take it out of the shawl and up, okay, and then say Allahu Akbar. Then if you want to fasten your hands, you can, okay. For women, the method is that you raise your hands up to your shoulders somewhat, or your chest, okay, so you raise it up to there, that's the Allahu Akbar there, okay. If you got a shawl on, which you're gonna have on, a scarf, anything like that, and you just do it within. You don't need to take the hands out. Okay, you just do it within and fasten it. Okay, so the fasten arms. So the way we fasten it for men is you get your small finger and your thumb of your right hand. Okay, the palm of your hand will go onto the back of your hand. Okay. And the fingers that I mentioned will circle your wrist, okay, and your 3 fingers will rest upon your arm, okay, like that. Yeah. Okay. That's what men. That's how you fasten it, and you fasten it underneath your navel, okay. That's according to the Hanafi opinion, underneath your navel, not on top of your navel, underneath your navel, okay. The belly button.
Underneath or on? Yeah.
This is for men.
Yeah, but is it underneath or on?
Underneath.
So it shouldn't cover your belly.
No. It's just slightly underneath. It shouldn't cover it. Slightly underneath it. Okay.
Some people have it.
Depends on position that it is.
No, it's
Yeah. It should be underneath. Okay. According to us, it's a sunnah, but the sunnah is that it's underneath your navel. Okay. Not on your navel, underneath your navel. For women, okay, the women place their hands on their chests, okay, without the circling. You can't circle it anyway, it'll be too difficult. Okay, so you put your hands on your chest, okay, and you just do that. Okay, simple. Hand upon hand, and just hold it like this. Okay, don't try to do what some people do, and they try to make the circle, and yeah, it's too hard. You can't do it. Tell me to do it. Okay, so you just put your hand on the hand and keep it there. Okay. And that's your sunnah for that. So now the prayer starts, doesn't it? Okay, so you fastened it, everything. Your arms are fastened, the sunnah's been done. Now what do you recite? What's the first sunnah within the prayer now?
Salah.
Sunnah. So you recite sunnah. Okay. If you're behind the imam, once you finish sunnah, you need to remain silent. Okay. Yeah. You need to remain silent. It's makruh tahrimi to recite behind the imam, even in the silent prayers. Even in the silent prayers in qiyam, if you're reading with the imam, then you should not be reciting. You recite sunnah in the first rakat, and that's about it. Okay. The rest in the standing position is up to the imam. You don't need to read behind it. As Hanafis. Then what will happen now is that if you're behind the imam, then he recite A'udhu Billah, Bismillah, Surah Fatiha and Surah. If not, if you're reading by yourself, then it's sunnah for you now to recite A'udhu Billah, Ta'awudh, Bismillah is called Tasmiyah, then recite Surah Fatiha, and then recite a Surah. Okay. Once you've done them, then we go into the shuffle, Ruku. Okay. Yeah, we go into Ruku. So with the men, okay, we make sure, first of all, I'll start from the bottom. We make sure that our shins, okay, are straight. Don't bend your shins. Don't bend your knees. We do not bend our knees. It slightly baffles me why people got that concept of bending the knees. Okay, it clearly states in our books that we do not bend our knees. Okay? Some people bend their knees while they're in ruku. We do not bend our knees. We keep our knees straight. Okay, shins straight as well. And that's the sunnah. And what else we do is we keep the back straight, like he's got it. Okay, the back, the forehead, and your back should be level. For men, this is should be level, equal. Okay, and your arms should be stretched out as well. So they shouldn't be like this. And that will be natural as well. How that will happen is if your shins are straight, then your arms will be somewhat straight. Okay, if your knees are bent and your shin is bent, then your arms will be also bent. And instead of having a straight back, it will be a sloppy back. Okay, meaning you're going downwards. We don't want that. Our sunnah is that you have a straight back and face down. Now, your sight, where should your sight be in ruku? Should be on your toes. Okay, so you don't look up as well. Okay? You don't look like that. Okay, we don't want that. We want, okay, so this has to be all straight. Okay, so his eyesight should be on his feet. Okay. In the qiyam position, your eyesight is on the place of your sajda. So where you're going to go straight, if you're standing up, that's when you're going to be looking down to your position. I'll do that again for each other. So this is the sunnah position of ruku. It's sunnah to recite the tasbih 3 times, isn't it? Okay. Or odd number of times. Okay. So the tasbih is Subhana Rabbiyal Azim. Recite this thrice, 3 times, and then what do we say? Sami Allahu liman hamida. Missed pointing out that when you come into this ruku, to say Allahu Akbar is a sunnah. All your takbeers in prayer are sunnah. In your fard prayer are sunnah, except for the first one. The first one is fard, isn't it? Allahu Akbar, that's fard. The rest of them, all of them are sunnah. When you came in, he said Allahu Akbar, that was sunnah to come in. Now you're going to come back out. So what is he going to say? Huh? Coming out of ruku, Sami Allahu liman hamida. That is sunnah to say. Yes, Sami Allahu liman hamida. Okay. That's sunnah for him to say. And then after it is Rabbana lakal hamd. Okay. Both of them are sunnah to say. In terms of jama'ah, a congregation really behind the imam, I prefer the mazhab that the imam says Sami Allahu liman hamida and the follower says Rabbana lakal hamd. That's my preference, personal preference. Okay, that he says Sami Allahu liman hamida, God listens to those who praise him. So he's incited you or made you praise Allah. Okay, so then you praise him. You don't need to say exactly what he said, did he? Yes. So he incites you and you incite him to say, okay, like again. So he incites you to say that God listens to those who praise him. When he's trying to say praise Allah, then you don't say his words, you get up and say Rabbana lakal hamd. Okay, Rabbana lakal hamd. Oh our Lord, praise be to you. Okay, you praise him, you acted upon the Imam's words. Okay, but some ulama said that the Imam and the Muqtadi should say both. Okay, but my personal preference is that you say the Imam says Sami Allah and you say Rabbana lakal hamd. If you're praying by yourself, then you say both. Praying by yourself, then you say both of them. Okay, this position that he's in now is called the Qawma position. What's it called? Qawma position, the standing position. Qawma. This position is sunnah. Some scholars, Imam Abdul Khan also said it's wajib. Okay, but I would text it that it's a sunnah position. Okay, this is why you recite Rabbana lakal hamd and you wait to go down into sajda. I was going to tell you that even in qiyam and in qawma, your eyesight should be on the place of your prostration. So meaning where your forehead is going to touch, your eyesight should be on that. Okay, so now you go into sajda.
In the comma position, is there a mandatory amount of time that you must spend in that position?
No, just a moment. Just a moment. Okay, with itminan, so you get that itminan. Remember, in all positions, the itminan is necessary, isn't it? The tranquility and the tranquility that you must relax slightly. Okay, so that's the amount of time you need. Really. So before going to sajda, what do we say? Takbir. We say Allahu Akbar. Okay. So we're going to say Allahu Akbar. So he says Allahu Akbar. Then what we need to do now is first of all the knees touch the ground. Take your knees. Then the hands. Then your nose. Then your forehead. Okay. That's the position. Come back up. Come up. I keep forgetting the sisters. Right, the sisters' ruku position, okay, is that when they're going to ruku, they have to slouch themselves in, okay, bring themselves together. So you won't have a straight back. Okay, you're going to be all together. Because we're going to, it's going to be hard for you. Okay, no, don't bend any knee. Okay, so you literally come all in. Okay, so you go down and you come all in, and that's how you do ruku. Okay. One thing I missed out in ruku was the hands. Okay, the men will spread their hands out, spread them out. Okay, like that, and hold on. The women will keep the fingers together. Okay, but they'll come all in. Okay, it's because of a hadith the Prophet also mentioned. Okay, that they come all in. It has more security, more covering in that. You come all in that way. Okay. Back to the sajda. Okay, so when we came into sajda, it was knees, hands, nose, and forehead. Okay, that's the way we come into sajda. Okay, for men, all of you lot need to keep an eye on a couple of things. Okay, first of all, is your forehead needs to keep touching the ground. Okay, don't be looking back. Yeah. A lot of people do that, don't they? They look back at the other guy. Okay. They lift their nose and they try to look back. We don't do that. So both forehead and your nose need to be on the ground. The place to look is your nose. If you find that hard, then you can close your eyes as well. Okay. Your arms, stretch them out. Stretch your arms out. That way. Further. Yeah. The Prophet said in a hadith sharif that Sahabi said that I could see the whiteness of the underarms of the Prophet when he was prostrating. Okay, so that's for this for men. So that's how we do it as well. Okay, and the gap between the shin and his stomach or his chest should be wide enough for a small sheep to go through, a baby sheep to go through, pass through. Okay, that's how big the gap should be for men. Okay, that's something to keep an eye on. If your chest touches your thighs, it's makruh for men to do that. The feet. Okay, the feet, you have to do sajda this way so they can see your feet. You can see it, you don't need to. So your feet need to be like that. Okay, this is for men. All your toes should be facing the direction of the qibla. Put your foot flat, just like that. Your foot should not be like that in sajda. So if your foot's like that, that sajda is not done for you men. Okay, that sajda will not be done for men. Okay, so meaning effectively your prayer is not done, is it? Okay, because that's fard as well. So this is more or less the position, the sunnah position of the prostration for men. In this we recite what? 3 times? Subhana Rabbiyal A'la. Okay. For women again have to come together, sit up straight. Women will come together, but this time you'll have to the women will put their chest onto their thighs. Okay. And the arms, the forearms will completely go into the ground. Okay, and that's how they do the sajda then. So everything is more or less touching the right. Get your foot up. Get your foot up. Flat. Both of them, make them flat. Yeah. So that's how you will do your sajda. Your shins, he hasn't done it properly, but you know better. Okay, your shins will be touching the ground. Okay, so everything more or less is you come together, and that's how you prostrate. Totally, completely come together, and that's how you will prostrate. It's just the way you sit in it. You sit like this. Okay, we will sit like that. Okay, so what you do is you come out. When you're here, you're going to sit that. If you're going to sit that, you come straight in. Okay? We have to make sure your shins touch the ground. Okay? Both of them touch the ground. That's for women.
So you come down, you sit, so you properly sit.
Yeah, you properly sit and then If you can do it the other way, that's even fine as well. As in, you come straight into sajda, but then sort yourself out in sajda. Yeah? But if you find it hard to do that, you sit first and then do it that way.
So you're meant to have all that part of your
Yeah, all on the ground. So when you go in, it will be straight like this. Okay, and then you prostrate within that gap. Okay, so in and then up. Okay. That's really good. That's for women. Okay.
Explain a little bit more about the position.
I'm coming to that. Okay, the position in sajda, the women's feet need to be out towards the side. You know how they're just going to sit in salah? Okay, their feet out towards the right hand side. Okay. No, we won't do that. We won't do that. Okay, your feet will be flat. Yes, it'll be done. The prayer is done, but your feet will be flat out. This is in sajda, okay? And the reason for that is, and I'll tell you the reason. Sahib Bahar Shariat, he was actually confused on this masala at one time, and then he wrote a fatwa, then he retracted it, and the retraction he made was that the Prophet ordered the ladies to stick to the ground, okay? So sticking to the ground means the shins, the arms, okay? And if the feet are erect, okay, on their toes, then the shins cannot touch the ground. So he said that to act upon that hadith, we need to have the feet flat. And to the right. And to the right. Okay. That's that. And then what will happen after you do two sajdas? So you sit up, okay, you say Allahu Akbar, okay. This is called jalsa. This position now is in, is called jalsa. This position is between the two prostrations, okay. You say Allahu Akbar, you sit, and then you come straight back into the prostration, the second prostration again. Okay. Then we say Allahu Akbar, and then we stand up for the second rak'ah. Okay. If you're behind the imam, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to say anything. You just do everything. In the second rak'ah, if you're reading by yourself, you recite Surah Fatiha, you recite Surah, and then go back into ruku, okay, to sajda. Then we come do everything the same, and then you're back into the At-Tahiyyat position now. Okay, so the sitting position. This is the end of the prayer now. We did a 2 rakat prayer. So I'll explain again. We did the first rakat, then we came and we did the 2 sajdas. Okay. After the second sajda, you stand up for the second rakat, don't you? Okay. In the second rakat, you recite Surah Fatiha, you recite a surah as normal, like we described in the first rakat. Then you come into ruku. Same, everything is the same. Come out of ruku, qawma, come into sajda, sit in jalsa, then do the second sajda. Okay. Now this, at the end of the second rakat, you're going to stay in the At-Tahiyyat position. So what we're describing today is only 2 rakat prayer, isn't it? So at this point, he's sitting in At-Tahiyyat now. So let's imagine he's done 2 rakats. Okay. So now he's done 2 prostrations for the second rak'ah. Okay. So now he's going to sit into the tashahhud position. Is that correct? Yeah, that's right. Okay, that's how you sit in the tashahhud position. Okay. This is for men. Right? The left foot is laid down. Okay, the left foot is laid down, and the right foot is erected. Okay, that's the sunnah position of sitting in the tashahhud. Okay. The hands should be slightly above the knees, so they're not slanting off. You don't want them to be like that. Okay, they're on your thighs more or less. Okay, and they shouldn't be spread out like this. They should be just normal. Just normal. That is the sunnah, the tashahhud position. At this point, we're going to recite At-Tahiyyat. Before I go into that, the women's sitting position. Okay. Feet out towards the right. Bring the foot just right in here, like that. Okay. This position is called the tawarruk position. What's it called? Tawarruk. Okay. Called tawarruk. The position is that you sit on one of your hips. okay, with your feet, or rather you sit on your hips with your feet out, okay. This is the way women sit in the Hanafi fiqh, and this is the way the Shafi'is sit for men as well. Okay, the Shafi'i men sit like that as well. Okay, but for us we have a difference. We have the men's tashahhud position, and this is the women's tashahhud position. Okay, the rest is all the same in terms of your hands position. Okay,
For the women, what's the hand position?
same. So you just put your hand on your thighs,
Together,
just normal.
just normal.
You don't want them like that. You don't want them like this. You just want them normal.
Not on the knees.
Not over your knees like this, but on your thighs, just behind your knees. Okay. We recite at-tahiyat in this, don't we? So reciting at-tahiyat here now. So this sitting, because there's only 2 rakat, this sitting is fard. Okay. And the recitation now of at-tahiyat, even behind the imam, you have to read it. So now what will happen is the recitation is wajib. So if we recite at-tahiyat all the way till the end, to Abdu wa Rasuluh. But there's a sunnah in between. The sunnah is when we go to Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, we raise the finger on Allah. So we say Allah, okay, we raise the finger. Okay. And we put it back when we say illallah. So Allah ilaha illallah, we place it back down. Okay. Imam Shami seems to think that when you raise your finger, you raise it up and say Ashhadu an la ilaha, and you place it back down, keeping on my finger. Okay. Allah ilaha illallah. Look how I've done it. Yes. He seems to think that you do that. So you keep the circle, and but you just put the finger down. Okay. Which is permitted. You can do that. We don't do the squiggles. Okay. We just put it down there. Okay. The other way is, majority people do it that way as well, is that you say Allah ilaha, and then when you say illallah, you put your whole hand down. You break up the circle. Yes? The majority of people follow. But there's a big dispute of raising the finger in the first place in the Hanafi fiqh. Okay, is it sunnah? Isn't it sunnah? We do conclude that it is sunnah, but then the other side also have evidence as well that it's not sunnah. So Imam Shami said that you should just mix it up a bit. Sometimes do it and sometimes don't do it. Even in the same
That's
breath.
the actual raising of the finger.
The actual raising of the finger. Okay, sometimes do it and sometimes don't do it. Even in the same prayer, if you're reading the 4 rakat and you got the show twice, okay, then in one don't lift it, and in one lift it. Mix and match it. Both
You
are.
just raise it every time.
You can raise it every time as well. Yes. There are various methods of how people raise it as well. I won't mention them, but if you know them, then you can even mix and match it with them as well. Okay. For example, Imam Shami said that you raise your finger and then you put it down, but you put your finger down. And the dalil he gave was because the hadith says that the Prophet placed his finger down. Then he did wada of it, from raising it to wada. And the only thing that we know that he put down was from the apparentness is the finger, and he didn't let go of the whole hand. Okay, so we can answer that by saying that okay, maybe the Prophet ﷺ raised his finger and then put it down, but then and this was only an action of tashahhud to Abdu wa Rasuluh. So when he finished it, he mustahab let go of his whole hand at the end of the show. Didn't carry on all the, including the dua. So I've seen some scholars who raise their fingers and leave it up to the end of Abdu wa Rasuluh. Okay, the fingers like this, and then when they finish it, they let go of their hands. When they start salawat, their hand is fully down. Okay, but whichever way it is, you can do it, inshallah ta'ala.
Can you just raise your finger without moving the rest of the hand?
No, we have to do the circle. The circle is sunnah. Okay, you do the circle, is sunnah. Even that is disputed how the Prophet did it. Okay, so you raise it in the circle. Okay, and then put it down. So you recite up to Abduhu wa Rasuluh, which is wajib. Everything after this is a sunnah. So reciting Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin, okay, Durud Ibrahimi, that is sunnah. Then you recite the dua. You should mix and match your du'as. Don't just keep reading Rabbi Alni cooking salah. Mix and match it. But the dua that you do is a sunnah to do. For example, if you're running late, work, whatever, and you know that I need to get back, so you can read up to Abdul wa Rasuluh and say, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad, and you salam. You can finish it.
What's up? The dua, is that specific types of different du'as you can do, or any dua you can do?
You can do any dua, you will make up a dua. But as long as it does not entail things that you would ask from people. Oh Allah, get me married. Get me a Ferrari. And things like this, these du'as, we don't make them. So try to make them as close to the sunnah. So they have to be in Arabic, so best you just take the sunnah du'as.
Can you recite Surah Fatiha as a dua?
As a dua, yes. As a dua. As if you make it as recitation of Qur'an, then it will be makruh. You know, Rabbi Alni or Rabbana Atina Fid Dunya, the Quranic du'as aren't there. So, but we're reciting them as dua. So you can do that also, so as dua. But if you want, if you speak Arabic, then you make du'as similar to those that have come in the Sunnah. Like regarding the hereafter, regarding forgiveness, things like this. Make dua that and then give salam. Your sight in your tashahhud should be in your lap. So, in tashahhud, your sight should be on your lap. Shouldn't go beyond that. Look at your lap.
And if you in your place of prostration, is that not?
It's a mustahab anyway, so it doesn't really matter where you look, it's for concentration, isn't it? So the ulama have divided these, that you look in these places, so you concentrate. But if you can concentrate just by looking ahead and you're not going to be distracted by what's going on ahead, that's fine. Nothing wrong with it.
What about the hands in the tashahhud position? The fingers should be together. Is there any specific method of placement?
No, normal, your hand should just be normal.
Just normal.
Yeah, not
Just
too
relaxed.
wide, not too close, just normal.
So they don't have to be together.
Not together, not like that. Just normal as how your hands in a natural position should be. Okay. Not too wide, not too tight. It's normal. So yeah, so we read recite salawat, then we recite the dua. Then we give salam. Now, which side do we give salam on first? Right side. Okay. So we give salam. If you're the imam, then you intend to give salam to all those people on your right. When you give salam to the left, you intend to give salam to all the people on your left. But you make intention also of angels. All the angels on your right, all the angels on your left. Give salam to all of them. Even if you're reciting if you're reading prayer by yourself, then you intend all the angels. Okay? So if you give salam toward the right, then all the angels on your right, and on the left, all the angels on your left. We intend that. When you give, if you're behind the imam, depending on where you are, which position you're in. So if the imam is on your left hand side, when you give salam to the left, you also intend the imam and the people and the angels and the pious jinn. If the imam is towards your right, then you intend the imam when you give salam towards the right. If you're directly behind the imam, directly behind him, then you give salam to the imam in both cases. So you intend the imam towards the right and towards the left. When we give salam, we look toward the tip of your shoulder. So you look, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So you look towards the tip of your shoulder. Not all the way across the row. Okay, some people. We see some people, the imam give the first salam and they standing up and they're scoping everything. Okay, you don't do that. So you give salam and you look towards your own shoulder, each shoulder. So you don't need to look back, you don't need to look all the way to the end, just look towards your shoulder. Okay. This is the sunnah. Have I missed anything out?
From completing the rak'ah to getting up.
Yeah, I missed out. So if you did sajda and you're gonna stand straight up. Okay? So as we came into sajda, what did we do? We did the knees, then we did the hands, then we did the face in effect. Okay? You just do the total opposite of that. So what will happen now is you take off the head first, take off the hands. Okay, put your hands on your knees, Okay? And you're gonna come straight up. So on your knees and straight up. Okay, like that. That's how we do it.
Thanks.
We don't rest.
I think someone referenced, I spoke to someone and scholar and he said that, those limbs of yours which are close to the ground, they touch the ground first.
Yes.
And those
And the
limbs
opposite.
furthest to the ground,
Furthest
they
away
come off first.
first. That's it. So just the opposite, isn't it? So the way you came in, the total opposite of that, the reverse of that is the way back out. Okay. So shoulders, hands, face come down, and the opposite scenario: face, hands. I don't say shoulders, knees a minute. Okay. The knees, hands, and face onto the ground, and then the total opposite scenario of the face, hands, and then the knees come to that. And we don't rest on the ground. We don't put our hands on the ground to get up, unless you need it. Leg is hurting, something happens, you can't lift yourself up. Then you put your hands on the ground to pull yourself up. But the sunnah for us, if you're fit and healthy, is to put your hands on your shoulders and straight up. Knees, sorry, shoulders. Again. Okay, hands on your knees and straight up.
Go by your
The gap between your feet should be a minimum of 4 fingers, so a hand span. But you stand according to your natural posture, how you normally stand. We don't want somebody who is fit and healthy like Jameel to stand so close that now you can't balance. Yes. So regarding a person's height, his weight, okay, how a normal person would normally stand when he feels balanced, stand like that. But we do shoulder to shoulder in Jamaat, we don't do toe to toe. Yes. We do shoulder to shoulder in congregation, but we don't do toe to toe. So you don't have to stretch your legs out.
You can't sit back up when you come out of it. And then stand up.
No, we don't do that as well. We come straight from the sitting position, from sajda straight up. The women will have to sit down because of the position of their feet.
We can do that.
And you can do that because of the position of your feet. Unless you saw your feet out as you're coming out of sajda.
Then you can just go straight.
Yeah, then you can go straight.
So either or.
Do your feet have to, at least a portion of your feet have to remain on the ground? Because sometimes you see when people go to slouch down and so on, their feet actually raise off the ground. Does that nullify the salah?
If they're on the ground and then both feet come off the ground, it won't nullify the prayer. If they're just getting the footing right, okay, it won't nullify the prayer. What that masla refers to is somebody jumps in prayer. If Brother Jameel jumped in prayer and both feet came off the ground, okay, that's a sign that he's not in prayer because it's an action that you don't do in prayer, is not part of prayer. We don't jump in prayer. That will break his salah. So that masla is only to do with the qiyam really. It says that because all the other limbs are on the ground, if your both feet are raised in that position, it won't matter. Especially if you're getting your footing right. So if you raise your feet, and it always happens to everybody, that there will be a moment where they do lift their both feet to get both of them facing Qibla. That will not break your prayer in that instance. The masla is to do with qiyam. Like both feet come off the ground in qiyam, it will break your prayer. One last sunnah was left. What was that? What was it? Anybody know? Dua?
Dua.
Make dua at the end, according to the sunnah mu'akkada, to make dua at the end of your fard prayer. Sunnah mu'akkada according to it. Narrated the Prophet said, Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam tabarak ya dhul jidali wal ikram. Wa rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana. Dua that is our sunnah to make. I'm going to go through the units of prayers. Okay? Take a note of them. If you don't take a note of them, then you can find them in your salah book. So the one that we use in the madrasa, it's the green one, namaz and du'as. You can find it in that as well, namaz and du'as. The units for Fajr prayer. For Fajr prayer, you have two sunnah mu'akkadah. There's a difference. We have sunnah mu'akkadah, we have sunnah ghair mu'akkadah. We explained it in the last lesson. Okay. On last Saturday. We have sunnah mu'akkadah and sunnah ghair mu'akkadah. There was a slight difference in how we pray them as well. But I'll tell you when we get to that. So we have sunnah mu'akkadah. The two sunnah of Fajr are really sunnah mu'akkadah qareeb min al-wajib. That they're really close to becoming wajib. And some ulama even said they are wajib. They're sunnahs that have been emphasized more than anything else from the sunnahs of the Prophet. So we have to take care in reading them. You have two sunnah. And the two sunnahs are prayed normal, as you would pray normal prayer. Okay. Surah Fatiha, Surah in both rakats. Okay, and one attahiyat all the way to the end. Then you have two fard, two sunnahs and two fard. So you have two obligatory units for Fajr. So you got two here. So 4 units altogether. The next prayer is Zohar. Zohar has 4 sunnah mu'akkadah. How many? 4 sunnah mu'akkadah. These 4, what will happen here is, when you read the first 2 units, you will say tashahhud. Yes? In tashahhud, you will only recite up to abduhu wa rasuluh. In sunnah mu'akkadah, if you ever have 4 units of sunnah mu'akkadah, then you only read up to abduhu wa rasuluh in the first sitting. Then you stand up and you carry on your prayer from the surah. You read Bismillah and the surah, and you carry on your prayer until you say At-Tahiyat again. You finish your prayer as normal. The only difference here is what? That we need to read up to abduhu or rasuluh in the first sitting in sunnah mu'akkadah. So you got 4 units for that. Then you have 4 fard. You know how to pray the fard now, don't you? So sunnah mu'akkadah are similar to the fard, except for the fard in the 3rd and 4th rakat, you only recite Surah Fatiha if you want. There's no surah. Then you have 4 fard. Then you have 2 sunnahs. Okay, sunnah mu'akkadah these are. Then you have 2 nafil, 2 optional units to pray as well. So again, Zohar is 4 sunnah mu'akkadah, 4 fard, 2 sunnah mu'akkadah, and 2 nafil. Optional. Nafil are optional. Want to leave them is fine. If you leave them, you'll be rewarded. Then you got Asr prayer. Asr has 4 sunnah ghair mu'akkadah. 4 sunnah ghair mu'akkadah. The ghair mu'akkadah are sunnahs. The method is slightly different how you pray them. They really classed as 2 separate units. All together, and we read them as one, but in reality, they classed as 2 separate units. It's like reading two nafil each. If you want to read 2 nafil, you start from Subhanakallah and read on, and when you get to At-Tahiyat, you read it all the way to the end. You do, don't you? Two nafil. So you have to treat both of them like 2 nafil, but with 1 salam. So in essence, what I'm trying to say is that when you get into At-Tahiyat, the first one, you read up to abduhu wa rasuluh, you read the salawat and you read the dua. But you don't give salam. You stand up for the 3rd rakat. But when you stand up for the 3rd rakat, you're not going to start from Surah Fatiha, you're going to start from Sanah. I did say they're like 2 nafils, aren't they? Yes, two units each. Okay, so when you stand up for that 3rd rakat, you start from Sanah. Yes, you start from Sanah, you start from Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, and then you carry on the prayer as normal. So it's really just like Sunnah ghair mu'akkadah. I like praying 2 units of nafil. So you got 2 units of nafil and then 2 units of nafil, but all you do is just combine both of them and put them as one. So, and you made them one prayer. So you still have to read the tashahhud, the salawat, and the dua. Then you stand up for the third rakat, and this time you start from sana. You won't start from alhamdulillah, you start from sana. Okay. So do you see the difference between sunnah muqaddah and sunnah ghair muqaddah? In sunnah muqaddah, when you say at-tahiyyat, you read tashahhud, you read up to abduhu wa rasuluhu and stand up. In sunnah muqaddah, you stand up. When you stand up, you start from bismillah and recite surah Fatiha. In sunnah ghair muqaddah of asr, you will say at-tahiyyat, but you read it all the way to the end, including your dua. So you got tashahhud, salawat, and then the dua. Once you've read the dua, you won't get salam, you stand up for the third rakat and start from sana. You read sana, you read a'udhu billah, you read bismillah, then you say, read surah Fatiha. Okay? And then that prayer is prayer normal, you finish it as normal. So you got 4 sunnah ghair muqaddah of asr. And you have 4 fard of asr. 4 fard of asr. So asr is 4 sunnah muqaddah and 4 fard. Maghrib is 3 fard. You have 3 fard in it. And like I told you, the first 2 rakats are normal. And you say at-tahiyyat, you look to Abdul wa Rasuluh. When you stand up for the third rakat, you have a choice. If you want to read Surah Fatiha, you can. If you don't want to read it, you can remain silent, or you can just do Subhanallah, Subhanallah, and go into ruku. So you got 3 fards for Maghrib. You have 2 sunnahs and 2 nafil. For Maghrib, 3 fard, 2 sunnah, 2 nafil. The 2 sunnahs are mu'aqadah. 2 sunnahs are mu'aqadah, emphasize sunnahs. Then after this we got Isha. Isha has 4 sunnah ghair mu'akkada. 4 sunnah ghair mu'akkada. You pray these exactly how you prayed the 4 sunnahs of Asr. The same difference. That you read all of at-tahiyyat, including salawat, including the dua, and then you stand up for the third rakat and you start with Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika. You start from there and you make your prayer as normal.
What does it mean, ghair muqaddah?
Non-emphasized. I'll come to that, I'll explain that, why some are emphasized and some are not. So for Isha, 4 sunnah ghair muqaddah. Then you have 4 fard. Then you have 2 sunnah mu'akkada, 2 nafil, 3 witr. The witr are wajib. I'll explain the method in a minute for people. The witr are wajib and then 2 nafil after them. So Isha goes as 4 sunnah ghair mu'akkada, 4 fard, 2 sunnahs, 2 nafil, 3 witr, and 2 nafil at the end. The witr I'm going to explain later on. These are the things that the units of Isha prayer. Anybody confused on any of the units? No? But you okay with it?
Does it have to be 3 witr?
There are 3 witr in there.
It's just not
3.
1,
Not
5.
1, not 5, 3. We're doing Hanafi fiqh. Okay? In Hanafi we have 3 units. We don't have a concept of one unit prayer. We totally do not have a concept. Prayer, a minimum according to us has to be 2 units. Okay? Minimum has to be 2 units. We can't read 1 rakat. That's Malikis and Shafis will do that. So they're the units that we have. The difference between mu'akkada and ghair mu'akkada, mu'akkada emphasizes sunnah, the Prophet emphasized them either by his words or by his actions. A majority of the time his actions, the Prophet rarely missed, really in his lifetime, once or twice maybe had missed the sunnah mu'akkada. Because he didn't totally miss them, then become wajib, wouldn't they? He once or twice just missed them, so they became sunnah mu'akkada, emphasized sunnahs. The sunnah ghair mu'akkada, the Prophet commonly missed them. Yes? To signify that they are more or less nafil, okay? As opposed to emphasize sunnahs. That's the only difference we have between them. Look at the witr. You have to come back out, Jimmy. The witr prayer is a wajib prayer. Quite good. It's a 3 rakat prayer. So we start the prayer off as normal. So the first rakat, we recite Subhanallah, we say Allahu Akbar, recite Subhanakallah, recite the Awwaz, Tasmiyah, Alhamdulillah, the surah, go into ruku, okay, Qoma, Sajda, Jalsa, Sajda, straight back up, okay, recite Surah Fatiha, recite Surah, go into ruku, okay, go into Sajda, 2 Sajda, then say Attahiyat. In Attahiyat, we recite up to Abduhu wa Rasuluh. Yes? We recite up to Abduhu wa Rasuluh, then we stand for the 3rd rakat. So that the prayer is normal, isn't it? Okay, so we stand up to the 3rd rakat. When we stand for the 3rd rakat, again we recite Surah Fatiha and the Surah. Once you finish your Surah, it's wajib to do the Qunut. Okay. So for the Qunut, what we will do, the Sunnah is that we do Rafa Yadain here. So we'll raise our hands to our ears for men and to the chest for women. We'll say Allahu Akbar and raise our hands and then fasten them again. Do that. Oh, at this point, and fasten them. Now at this point, we recite the dua, the Qunut. Qunut means dua itself. The Sunnah one is Allahumma inna nasta'inuka wa nastaghfiruka. Okay, we recite that all the way to the end of it. If you don't know it, then you can say whatever dua you like. Okay.
Also, can you recite Ayatul Kursi?
Ayatul Kursi is not a dua. It has to be a dua. Ayatul Kursi is not a dua.
And after the Surah Fatiha, you have to read Surah.
Here, yes. These are witr.
Yeah.
What I said earlier on was only for sunnah and nafil.
Before witr, you have to read
Witr are
Fatiha
wajib.
and Surah.
Like I tell you, witr are like front prayer really.
Okay.
Okay, it just the evidence that we use is slightly less because we have to lower it down in rank. So you do that. You raise your hands, okay, fasten them again, and read your dua. Read dua qunut if you know it. If you don't know it, then recite any dua that you know. Okay, if you don't know any dua at all, okay, then Ya Rab, Ya Rab, Ya Rab. That's simple, isn't it? Okay? You can just say that as well. Okay, but the sunnah is to learn the actual dua that we have for qunut. And we don't do qunut nazila. Our qunut is done in witr, not fajr time. The Shafis do their qunut at fajr time, okay? So this is the only difference that we have. Then after this, what you'll do is you go straight into ruku and finish your prayer as normal. Let's say for sake that you forgot, read surah and go straight into ruku, okay? Carry on your prayer and do sajda sahab at the end. Carry on your prayer and do sajda sahab at the end. Don't try to come back. Okay, I've read some fatawas that if you do come back from your ruku to your dua qunut, when you come backwards in prayer, it'll break your prayer. Okay?
You wouldn't do that anyway.
What's that said?
You wouldn't go backwards anyway in any action.
People sometimes do it, but it'll break your prayer. You don't do that. But if you still want to do your qunut, then ulama say that in the qawma position. So if you missed it, you go into ruku, come out of ruku in that qawma position. If you really want to do the dua, then do it at this point. We still have to do sajda over there. Okay? Which I'm going to talk about now. Okay. So any questions on the witr prayer? Everybody fine with the witr prayer?
Can I just ask you a question about, before the daily walk the sunnah? If you don't read them like that, say if you just read them as, yeah,
It'll still be fine.
it's still fine.
Still fine.
So
You just miss your sunnah. Either the sunnah of reading salawat and the dua. You miss that out, so your prayer will be complete. Sujood sahw is the prostration of forgetfulness. What is it? It's just 2 prostrations at the end of your prayer with the salam. So at the end of your prayer, you will give salam. You read up to Abduhu wa Rasuluh. You give salam to your right hand side, and you do 2 prostrations as normal. 2 prostrations. When you sit back down in the Attahiyat position again, you read the Tashahhud again as normal and finish the prayer off as normal. That's what sujood sahw is. Yes. Explain it again. At the end of your prayer, you give salam to your right hand side and then make 2 prostrations and then sit back and start from tashahhud, at-tahiyyat and finish your prayer off. That is sujoodus sahw. But what's the cause of doing sujoodus sahw? The cause of sujoodus sahw is only when you miss a wajib. Mark my words. Only when you miss a wajib. Okay? Everybody understand that? You can only do sajda sahw when you miss a wajib. If you miss a fard, you need to do that fard within prayer. Let's say you came and you did one sajda and you, out of forgetfulness, you stood up for the second rakat and you want to do one sajda. Second sajda is also fard, isn't it? You need to do that sajda, that one that you missed within the prayer. If you missed it, if you give salam at the end of prayer and you haven't done that one prostration, okay, your prayer needs to be repeated again. How to do within prayer, for example, in the last rakat you have to do 3 sajdas, 3 prostrations. That's how you cover it. We have to do sajda sahw because you missed his place. The place for each and every single action, the place is wajib. And for all the fard actions, each and every single place for it is wajib as well. So sajda sahw can only be done if you miss a wajib. So all the wajibs that we listed, you miss surah Fatiha, you miss reading a surah, and various other things that we mentioned, you forgot to recite tashahhud in the first sitting. Yes. So all these things you will do the sajda sahw for them. Instead of sitting in the first sitting, you stood up for the third rak'ah. When you were meant to be sitting, you do sajda sahw for that. Sajda sahw again is only if you miss a wajib. If you miss a fard, that fard needs to be done within the prayer. If you miss that fard, sajda sahw will cover it. Sajda sahw will not cover that fard, you need to repeat your prayer. If you miss a sunnah, there's no sajda sahw for it. There's nothing for it. You can't even repeat it in prayer.
Is there anything read in sajda sahw?
Normal, so the normal tasbih. When you go into prostration, just the normal tasbih 3 times, and what you'll do is carry on the prayer as normal. So again, if you miss a wajib, let's say you forgot to recite the surah in qiyam. Now what will happen is at the end of prayer, when you come into the last sitting, you read at-tahiyyat first, up to abduhu wa rasuluh, then you give salam to your right hand side, and then you do 2 prostrations. So you go down, come back up, then back down. You can read tasbih in there. Subhana rabbiyal a'la, recite them. When you come out to the second one, you have to recite the tashahhud again. So you recite at-tahiyyatu lillahi wa salawat all the way to the end, and then you read salawat, then recite the dua, and then give salam. Okay. That's all it is. So sajda sahw only covers your faults in wajib. Does not cover your fault in the fard. You have to do the fard.
How do you mean that you do the fard in the prayer?
Meaning if you miss the fard,
Yeah.
let's say like you missed a ruku, you have to physically do the ruku again. If that means you have to do 2 rukus in the second rakat, you have to do 2 rukus in the second rakat. Yes?
So as soon as you become aware of what you
Because as soon as you become aware, then you do it whenever you can. Even if you remember at the end of prayer, you missed a ruku, and you started reading at-tahiyyat, and it came to you, I forgot to do ruku, I came straight into sajda. At that point, you need to stand, do ruku, yes, and come back down, read at-tahiyyat, but sajda sahw will be wajib. Why will sajda sahw be wajib? Because you missed the place of that ruku. That place of that ruku was maybe the first rakat or the second rakat. Where you actually missed it, you missed it, that place is wajib as well. So the sajda sahw is coming because of the wajib, and the action itself needs to be done because it's fard. If you, for argument's sake, you completed your prayer without doing the ruku, that prayer is not done, sajda sahw will cover it. You can do sajda sahw, but you didn't do the ruku. You have to repeat that namaz again. Okay?
So the action itself was fard, but
The action
missing
itself is fard, but the
its
position,
placement.
his
Yeah.
placement is wajib. So if you miss his place, then you missed the wajib. You haven't missed the fard, you missed the wajib. The fard you completed because you did it within prayer.
So by default you have to do sajda sahw
Yes.
and then do the action.
No, you do the action first, then you do the sajda sahw. Sajda sahw always at the end of prayer.
Okay.
If you read At-Tahiyyat and then you remember, you stand up, do the ruku, sit down, read At-Tahiyyat to Abdul Rasul, do Sajda Sahab, and then finish your prayer.
Yeah, fine, yeah, but you realize that you might have missed it now. So that's all the cover.
Sajda Sahab will not cover a rakat. Are you on about rakat or
A
ruku?
missed rakat.
Yeah,
Meaning
Sajda
that
Sahab
you
will cover that.
forgot.
Because it's fard, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yes. So Sajda Sahab will cover it. If you'll have to think, I missed one, haven't I missed one? Okay. So you build on that then. So you go with the lowest number. That's a matter in itself. Detailed matter. I'll explain it. What position is it? Yeah, that's and if you ever confuse how much rakat you've done, you always go with the certainty. And that's the amount of rakats you know you've done. The question, am I my third, am I my fourth? Am I completing my third, am I completing my fourth? The yaqeen is that is at least, the certainty is that is at least the third, isn't it? So you build on that. But all you have to do is sit the shahud at the end of each one. Just in case it is the last rakat. So if you build on the third one, it could be the fourth one. So you read up to Abduhu wa Rasuluhu, stand for one more rakat, come back down, and read the tashahud, do Sajda Sahab, and complete your prayer. It goes in all angles, just in case that it was the fourth one and you stood for the fifth one. The detail matter. We will go towards those things that break the prayer. Talking breaks the prayer. If you talk in any way, shape or form, it will break the prayer. That is even giving salam to somebody, indications to somebody, being clever in salah, that somebody asked you a question, but you read a verse and gave him his answer. We have a common example of this, that someone named Yahya comes into the room and he says, "Where's my book?" And you say, "Khuzil kitaba ya Yahya." Oh Yahya, take hold of the book. Yeah? But yeah, this is also a verse of the Quran. But it still break because now you've intended to talk to him. This will break prayer. So anything which is worldly talk or is not meant to be part of prayer will break the prayer. For example, somebody gave you good news and you said Subhanallah in prayer, but you intended to answer him. This will break your prayer. Saying Subhanallah normally would not break your prayer. We intended to answer. Some bad news, you say Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, but intended to answer him, it will break your prayer because of that intention. Breaking your wudu will break your prayer. If a person breaks his wudu, it will break his prayer. Turning your chest away from Qibla will break your prayer. Now one thing, as long as you have not turned your chest away from Qibla, your prayer is not finished.
What will you do that? You will do that no more?
No, that's fine, as long as it's in that direction. You're 45 degrees at the side, to face, that's your Qibla direction. 45, 90 degrees altogether. That's your Qibla direction. We will completely turn away from it. For example, look, if a person read his salah, even gave salam. He was reading the 4 rakats a month, but he only read 3 rakats, and he gives salam at the end of them. And then after he gives salam, he just sat there and thought, I'm sure I just prayed 3. But his chest was not turned away from Qibla. He can stand up and carry on his prayer and do Sajda Sahab at the end.
Subhanallah. So even after the salam,
Even after the salam.
so long as he hasn't moved away from his chest.
To eat in prayer. Now this is considered into 2. You place something in your mouth or something already is in your mouth. Yes? If you place something from outside of your mouth in your mouth, in all cases will break your prayer. even if it's a small amount, it'll break your prayer. You've got some inside prayer, you've taken something and you've eaten it. This will break your prayer. If it's inside the mouth, we make a distinction. It's either the size of, I wouldn't say chickpeas, too big. Masrani dal, lentil, lentil.
Masala dal.
These are the small ones, okay, about that size. Lentils, about that size. If just less than that is stuck between your teeth or is in your mouth, okay, and you swallow it, either intentionally or unintentionally, but it's already inside your mouth, it won't break your prayer. Anything bigger than that is will break your prayer. Anything bigger than the lentil size will break your prayer. Drinking also, not just eating, drinking also. I think something weird in Tarawih. One of the kids had this in the cup one, and he had this water bottle in his cup with his pipes going. The other kid. So you can't have something like that and start drinking in Tarawih. Men and women reading together in the same prayer will break the man's prayer.
Not the ladies.
Not the ladies.
Sorry, say that.
Yeah. If I'll give you an example, husband and wife. They're reading behind the Imam, they both share the same prayer, but husband and wife are standing together. It'll break the man's prayer. Okay. They're not meant to stand together. So men and women can't stand in prayer together. Like obviously, if that's the case for his wife, then any other lady definitely will break the prayer as well. Even if the husband is the Imam, okay, she can't stand next to him, will break his prayer.
So where should she stand?
She should stand in a position where she can't touch him. About a row back.
Back, not on the side.
Not on the side. Women will never stand on the side of them.
Is it on the right hand side or the left hand side?
She just stand
Anywhere behind.
She stand behind him. She'll have her own rope altogether. You can't pray in congregation. Remember that. If there's, for example, husband and wife are at home and they want to pray, they can't pray in congregation just by themselves. But the only condition is that she needs to stand far back. She can't be in touching distance.
As long as it's the row behind. And
she's not in touching this distance, then that's fine.
What if the man's come later and the woman's already doing her prayer, but because she's doing her prayer, he decided to pray a bit behind her?
Your prayer, the women's prayers are always fine in this scenario. If the guy's prayers are we don't. Okay?
So in that case,
Yeah, his prayer will not be done because of the sisters being in front of it.
even though she's already started,
It does not affect her prayer at all. It's his prayer that will be affected.
and it was because of the lack of room.
Yes, even if it's because of lack of room, his prayer will not be done. He needs to be in front of the women, or where the men's row is.
No, I mean, in the house.
In the house, with this, we're talking about there are conditions. They have to be with the Imam, and they have to be in the same prayer. Okay? For example, if you're reading, you come and the wife is reading her nafil or reading her fard, right? But you're both reading separate, then you can stand side by side. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that because you're reading your own prayers. You're not reading with congregation, not with the Imam. Then husband and wife can read together in that scenario, but they read in their own prayers. I was talking about when the husband is the Imam or they're following Imam and they're standing together. Okay? That's when the husband's prayer will be broken. If you're reading your own prayer, then it won't affect it. It won't break anyone's prayer in that scenario. There's conditions to it that it has to be either behind the same Imam or one of them is the Imam, and then they share the same takbir tahrima, they share the same salah, the same fard. If you're doing qaza, you're doing the actual time you pray. That makes a big difference as well. So all these conditions have to be met for the man's prayer to be broken. Okay. So that's what will break the prayer in that scenario. So there's some things that just break the prayer.
What's that? Fidgeting in prayer or
Unnecessary
separate
fidgeting.
yawning or something like that.
Yawning,
Is there a
you can-
minimum
you can-
number of actions?
No, in yawning, if you're doing it, then you're doing it until you can't really take a yawn, can you? Okay. So you class this as necessary. Necessary. You try your full extent to stop yawning with your mouth, but if you have to raise your hand, then so be it. What breaks the prayer is an unnecessary fidgeting, something that you don't need to do and you do it. Okay. And so I've heard people say that more than 3 times. And that's their classification of Amal Kasir. And that's another thing that breaks prayer as well. Doing an action which an onlooker might think that you're not in prayer. That's one definition. Second definition, you do an action which normally takes 2 hands to do. Okay? That will break your prayer, that even if you do it with 1 hand. So that will break your prayer. So that could be, for example, Imam has fallen off and you're fasting with 1 hand, but normally it takes 2. So what? Just your prayer. It's not vital for you to have it on your head, is it? So that was just a few things I mentioned in terms of what breaks the prayer. The traveler's prayer.
Sorry, can I, going back to the breaking of the prayer, can I ask about the children? Like infants going in front of you, moving you,
Doesn't matter.
even if they come in front of you right directly and it's time for sajda.
Doesn't matter. Even if you have to pause for a little while and then go into sajda because of them, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that.
So, and can anybody go in front of you while praying?
If it's makruh, it won't break prayer. It's makruh, and if you pass it, when you do your prostration, if you pass it through there, it's haram.
Even the child?
Not a child.
Not a child.
Children are not burdened with anything.
Yeah, okay.
They can do whatever they like. They can jump in the salah if they like. Okay, it won't affect your
But
prayer
an
anyway.
adult going in front of you doesn't
For
break the
adults,
prayer.
it doesn't break your prayer in any case. But if you just go in front, if it's far in front, then it's makruh. And if it's from the place of sajda, then it's haram.
وعلى آلك صحابك يا سيدي يا حبيب الله الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
I'm going to miss out the makruh actually because of the shortage of time. The traveler's prayer, I'll shorten this for you. The traveling distance for us is 57.5 miles. See a difference of opinions, but that's what I follow, 57.5 miles. Anything beyond that, for women, without mahram to travel is haram. 57.5 miles. For women to travel beyond that mileage without a mahram is haram, unless it is a necessary travel. Okay. And according to the Hanafis, I think it was roughly 20 miles. 20 miles is disliked without a mahram for a woman as well.
Is there a time application, a time constraint within that as well? So it's not just the mileage, but for example, if they were flying, so a flight from here to Pakistan takes 8 hours, for example.
We rounded it off to 57.5 miles.
Just the miles.
Without time. Because we converted the time into miles. So the average that would be traveling in the time of the Prophet would be in 3 days would be roughly 57.5 miles. So we converted it like that. So we can't convert it to time and then convert back to from time to distance and then back from time to from distance to time. We won't do that. So what is here is that if you intended to be a traveler, travel over 57.5 miles, then as soon as you leave the boundaries of your city, you can do qasr of any prayer that you have. You know, your timing prayers, you can do qasr. What is qasr? All the 4 rak'ah prayers, you can cut them down to 2. So for the only odd ones are Fajr and Maghrib, you leave them as they are, make the intention of qasr for them as well, but leave them as they are. The other prayers, okay, Zohar, Asr and Isha, you will cut these prayers, just the fard, down to 2 rak'ahs. And then as long as you're a traveler, as long as you remain a traveler, what will happen is you will do qasr. There are a couple of ways how you will come out of being a traveler. You either reach a destination which is your home, okay, your second home, for example. Then what will happen is, like your parents' house and so on and so forth, then what will happen is at this point you will have to read full prayer. Or you reach a destination where you're deciding to stay for more than 15 days, 15 or more days. 15 or more days. That is known as iqama. You're just a temporary resident for more than 15 days. In this scenario, you will now do full. If you decide to remain in the city for less than 15 days, then you'll do qasr. But again, if you read behind the imam, the resident imam, you just read full. So this is qasr prayer for you. Qasr prayer.
For the benefit of just clarity, qasr is, like you said, for the first prayer. Does that mean you still have to do sunnah prayers as well?
If you're traveling and you're getting late, then you don't have to, you can leave them.
The more qasr prayers as well?
Yeah, all of them, excluding your witr, you have to pray your witr. For the sunnah or the nafil, you can leave them if you're in a rush, but if you got lots of time, then I recommend you to pray them. This is it. In terms of qada, fulfilling your missed prayer, in terms of what should I fulfill? Is it qasr, do I fulfill, or do I fulfill full prayer? This is determined by your state. What state were you in? So you always go to the last second of the time. So for example, if if Zohar finished roughly about 4 o'clock, as example, then you think, okay, what state was I in? Where was I at 4 o'clock? If you come to the conclusion that I was a traveler, I was still traveling at this point, I did not reach my destination, my hometown, then your qaza will be as a traveler. It'll be restricted to 2 rakats. If you said, no, I was within Bradford, I was within my home, now the qaza will be 4, because you're a resident now. Okay, so you have to work out that.
Can you read 4 rakats to the same side of you?
No, you have to read. It's not a rukhsa, it's a burden. So it's an actual prayer that we have to pray. It's not something we have choice of, do I do 2 or do I do 4? Or I decided to do 4 today. No, we have to do the 2 then. This is why we have that problem. The Shafis do that. According to Shafis, is leave. What that means is, if you want, you can read 2. If you don't, you can read 4. Okay.
So like for example, if you're residing at a relative's house and you know you've got your time and
Yeah, you can read this or nothing.
you don't follow.
All 4. No, you don't have that choice. If you're residing at a relative's house, okay, and you're a traveler, then you need to read 2. You have to read 2. You don't have a choice. It's not our mazhab to read 4. According to us, it will be done. Okay. Yeah. It will be done. If you read that prayer completely correctly, the 4 rakats, the prayer will be done.
No.
You have to carry on. You have to do the what you
know
been told.
now, and then you still choose to do 4.
That's wrong.
That's wrong.
It's wrong. It's simple according to us.
Did you say going to your parents' house? Is that
That's
yes,
yes. That's your one house.
even if they live?
Yes. Once you get there.
Once you get there. So for a woman who's going back to her parents' sister.
With the, sorry, I'll clarify that with the sisters. If your husband's traveling, then your intention depends upon your husband. So if he's a traveler, then you'll be a traveler.
But if you go alone and you're traveling,
Yes.
you have to do the full. You don't do questions.
Okay. We did miss a few things up.
Can I ask a question? Yeah. You know, sometimes you see a lot of people today have hoods on their head, like hoodies and so on. Does that affect the salah in any way? In terms of like your salams, or I know you said you really do your initial starting Allah, you can do it, don't necessarily need to touch it.
The hoodie won't affect your prayer in terms of the prayer itself. It won't invalidate the prayer in any shape or form. We have another one that you have loose cloths. Some people have the chadar and they just point up on the heads. If both sides are just dangling, okay, this is makruh tahtim, and you have to repeat your prayer because of it. If you just dangling like that, the way to get out of it is put it over. That's the way to get out of it. We missed the makruh action, that's why. Okay. If we get time next week, what's the next lesson? Aqidah. I'll take about 5-10 minutes and we'll explain some of the makruh and the prayers that are done with indications. I'll do that next week, inshallah. Okay.
Is there a condition though, if it's raining outside, you're doing your prayer, someone's knocking on the door, you don't speak to them, you open the door, but you intended to open the door?
If you do that, I'll break your prayer. You just have to repeat your prayer again. Just repeat your prayer. That's all. Go down to attention.
What lesson are we doing next week?
The Aqidah session will start, inshallah. That will be somewhat easier, I think. Any less questions? Hopefully.
Don't count on it.
Again, it'll be basic Aqidah. It'll be basic Aqidah. Once we do that, then we have a set of Sunni practices that we do. Just prove something.
It's probably worth referencing this text because it's really